Hey there. Welcome to All Things Social Security. I'm Stephanie Joy. Whether you are a first-time viewer, an occasional viewer, a subscriber, or one of the three tiered benefactor members, I want to welcome you and let your video begin. Remember, if you haven't checked out the memberships, it might be something up your alley because it gives you an opportunity for a little more Social Security disability attorney attention if you need it, but don't have representation and don't want to do a full-fledged consultation. Okay, have a great one, guys. Stay tuned. Good. Yeah, morning still. Okay, got to go over something. It has to do with how you become eligible to file for Social Security disability. There is some perceptions out there that you just have to have your 40 credits earned in your lifetime and you're good to go. This is not true. Generally, it's going to take that you've had 40 credits earned, but for younger people, it will be less. But it's not just that you earned them in your lifetime. There is a recency test. So you can have 40 credits that you earned in the first 10 years of your working life, because that's exactly when you can get them, and still not be insured for Social Security disability if you get disabled today. And that has to do with the recency test. I believe I have some old videos on that. But essentially, and again, younger people get it a little more lightly because they haven't had the opportunity to earn all these credits. But by and large, for most of us, you need to have 20 credits, Social Security credits, earned in the last 10 years. Because there's 40 possible you could have earned, you don't have to be working, balls to the wall to get them. Not to mention, to get them, even if you got 4 every year instead of the 2 that will eventually get you there, right now that's only a little over $7,000 a year to get all 4. So very part-time work can get you insured status for not just the retirement, which takes the 40 whenever you earn them. There's no recency test for that. And once you're vested, you're vested. But also those that you would need for SSD. So, can you hear the bird? It's a little loud today. I bring this up because just communicating with someone who said, "Oh, I'm good to go. I'm filing for SSD. I have my 40 lifetime credits." And I'm like, that is not necessarily going to answer the question of whether you can file for SSD. Now, as a general rule, if you have not been taking years off, here and there in the last 10 years, you're probably going to be good. Or if you only took 1 or 2, if you're going to take time off, it's actually almost better to have half of it. Let's say you're going to take a year off. It's actually better to have half of it in 1 year, 1 calendar year, and half of it in another calendar year, because then you're still going to get all 4 credits for both of those years. I know, it's weird, right? So this is why it's important that you call and find out if you're insured for SSD. And you can do that by calling the 800 number, 800-772-1213, and asking for your date last insured, DLI, date last insured for Social Security disability. Ideally, if you're thinking about filing for SSD, that is going to be in the future, about 5 calendar years, hopefully. If you did have some time off, maybe you haven't filed yet, but you stopped working 2 years ago, it's going to be something far shorter, but still hopefully in the future. It's one of the reasons why delaying endlessly to file for SSD is not necessarily wise. You can file if your DLI is even in the past, as long as you haven't had a decision already made on that time period, all of it, that you are not disabled. So you haven't already tried before. So if you've never filed, for instance, and your DLI is 3 years ago, you have to prove that through medical evidence, that you became disabled before that DLI of 3 years ago. The trouble with that, and it's not impossible, a lot of people are able to do it if they were really, really vigorous with their treatment back then. But the difficulties with it, and we call that a remote DLI, because it's remote, it's in the past, is that you can't now go, whatever you do today for your medical problems is not going to be evidence that can be used to show when it started. It only shows that you had it today, and it doesn't make that leap. So a remote DLI puts you at a disadvantage, and you definitely want to make sure you get all the medical evidence that could possibly exist back then. I mean, you need to go do it, honestly, I would say, because if you're going to rely on the SSA, they miss a lot. They do. I mean, you can even see it on your explanation, on your denial, all the things they got, and then they listed things that they were unable to get. So I suggest if you're pro se in particular, you go get all your medical evidence if it's a remote DLI, because in time, a lot of these companies, they get rid of your records, they purge them, whatever, or they say they do. I know everything's digital now for the most part, so it seems like they shouldn't really be doing that. But maybe it's storage, it takes up space in the little tiny little cell thing to store all the information. Whatever the case may be, you get it in your hand, keep it digital, keep it however you want, make a few copies if it's going to be digital, maybe save some to a cloud service. So when you do eventually file, those are available and can be sent up. But again, going back to it, guys, 40 lifetime credits does not guarantee you can file for Social Security disability, because you're forgetting all about the recency test. If I can, I'm going to try to find that video and attach it, and you'll know a little bit more about the recency requirements. The DLI tells you when your date last insured is, and that's probably the simplest way to find it. I know if you can't get through, we can sometimes chart it out. I use a little grid scenario when I don't have, I'm not making the phone call because you're going to sit on hold for a while. Not to mention nobody else can do it but you. They're not going to talk to anybody else. So important to know if your DLI is in the past, if it's in the future, and so you know how you're going to go about filing for your SSD. It also can tell you whether you need to maybe drum up some credits, maybe work a little part-time this year. Maybe you're short 3 credits and you can go earn $5,000 this year. It's some very genteel thing you can do despite your disabilities and get those back. And that buys you at least the next 9 months, perhaps, of insured status, so that the treatment today during those 9 months can then be used in your current case to find that onset. All right. Okay. I will try to find that recency thing and get it up to you. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Hey, so if the subject matter of the video you just listened to is of interest and you want more on it, stay tuned. Here's another one about the same topic, but a little bit different. Bye now. Hi, this is a quickie to provide an example of the true benefits of continuing to work. Now, hold on. I know sometimes we have to take off, but even when we can't work a lot, if we can just work a minimum amount, preferably every year, but it doesn't have to be, to earn our 4 earnings credits for that year. That way, if sometime in the future we become disabled, we will be insured and can collect our Social Security disability benefits. I bring this up because I'm always babbling about date last insured, DLI, and telling everybody to go call the number, get it, blah, blah, blah. Because this week there was just one more example. Have a woman who contacted me to see if and how she could file for Social Security disability. She became sick in the fall, very sick, and the repercussions are extremely disabling. I'll leave it at that. I have no doubt that if we were to file, that we could certainly we could gather the evidence enough to prove that she's disabled from all occupations on a full-time basis. So that's not an issue. What's an issue? She's not insured. At my request, she downloaded her annual Social Security earnings statement, which you get from ssa.gov/my account, and connect with your own account with the SSA and download that. And they messaged me, I should say they emailed me screenshots that she took of the years, because it'll list the years that they have recorded, the SSA has recorded for Social Security earnings. And those are what are going to define how many credits you got. Normally I say, oh, it's ballpark 6,000. Well, guess what? This year it's actually over 6,000. For 4 credits, it would be $6,040. Each credit is $1,510. So we've finally breached the 6,000 mark. What that means is in order to earn a credit, you have to have worked and paid taxes on $1,510. So you don't, if you're self-employed and you revenue in 1,510 and then you expense out 500, that's not going to cut it. Your taxable portion, your net that you are willing to be taxed on, is got to be at least the 1,510 for one credit, 6,040 for all 4 credits. And the reason being, for most adults, you have to have 20 earnings credits in the last 40 quarters. That's 20 quarterly credits in the last 10 years. Okay. And so the 10 years is a moving window, right? So if you have at least 20 and they happen to be in the most recent 5 years, that's ideal, because they will continue to be sitting in your 10-year window for the next 5. And that's your longest, biggest window if you stop working. So this person looked like she, worked, not a huge high income earner, but certainly enough to get all 4 credits over the many years, starting like in 2005. So she does have 10 years total. They're just not in the most recent 10 years. And this is unfortunate because her date last insured, come to find out, when she called that 1-800 number that I always give you, 1-800-772-1213, is middle of 2019. Now, she didn't get sick and disabled until 2021. So making a claim for disability is not going to work for her because she did not have the insurance at the time she became disabled. It's like not having car insurance at the time you get in the car accident. If you stopped paying in and you no longer have it, it doesn't matter that you used to have the car insurance. It's if you have the insurance now when you get in the accident. So I felt terrible having to tell them this because they just didn't know. And I think if a lot of people knew that all you have to do is earn and pay taxes on $6,000, 6,040 now, and you can't be $1 short or you don't get that credit. You don't get it prorated. So you definitely have to meet the minimum for each. And so for all 4, $6,040 in 2022, it's going to go up every year, most likely. It creeps up with COLA. So she's not going to be able to file and get disability. And it kind of breaks my heart because, that's the rules of the game. So keeping those credits in check is very important. A lot of us become disabled before we're of retirement age. It's statistically so. I remember reading once it was a third of us become disabled before age 62. Don't know if that's accurate. That was just something I'd always read. So keep an eye on your date last insured. And even for people that are on disability, let's say you're on SSI because you don't have insured status, you can get it if you can, despite being disabled, work very small part-time and start getting those credits to pop you up to your 20. They'll flip you over to Social Security disability. Be nice to get off the SSI. Okay, so that's that, the importance of those credits and your date last insured. And this is why I had them get me the date last insured before they or I put a lot of effort into any kind of medical workup, because it would have been a waste of energy, okay, of her time and of course our time. So keep that information and use it as you will. Have a great day.